Welcome to Deep Dive by the Quiet Footnote. Today, we're plunging into a book that isn't just read. I think for many people, it's really felt. It gets integrated into how they view life itself. We're talking about Paul Kalanithi's profound memoir, When Breath Becomes Air. It's definitely a book that leaves a mark, an indelible one. So, our mission today is to try and unearth the most resonant insights from Kalanithi's memoir. We're going to explore its core questions, maybe dive into some of the unspoken myths it quietly but, powerfully addresses, and really try to grasp its enduring relevance in today's world, especially, and this is interesting, concerning the age of AI. The aim here is to help you, our listener, find your own connection with its powerful, sometimes, heartbreaking, but ultimately life-affirming message.
What grabs you immediately, I think, is how Kalanithi just dives straight into this central, unflinching question. What makes life meaningful in the face of death? And this wasn't, theoretical for him. Not at all. He was this brilliant neurosurgeon, received a terminal cancer diagnosis right at the peak of his career. And it's his unique dual perspective, both as a doctor, meticulously dissecting life's mysteries through anatomy, case histories, and then suddenly, as a patient, stripped of control, his own body betraying him. That duality is just. It's absolutely foundational to the book's power. It's how he manages to bridge the huge, often terrifying gap between living fully and, well, dying knowingly.
That dual perspective is exactly what makes it so universal, isn't it? Because you're right, this isn't just a memoir about dying. It feels more like a manual for living while dying. And if you really think about it, that applies to every single one of us every day. It's like the kind of book you carry like a pebble in your pocket. Its edges feel different depending on when you reach for it, right? Depending on where you are in life. And some moments in the book just they hit you with a force you can't ignore. Take that gut punch moment when Paul first sees his own CT scan, the one confirming his diagnosis. He describes how the familiar anatomy he's diagnosed countless times now belongs to him. Wow. He captures that sudden shift saying, I had traversed the line from doctor to patient, from actor to acted upon, from subject to direct object. I mean, what does that really reveal about us?
Wow.
About the human experience?
It reveals the ultimate humbling, I think. That line hits so hard because it brings home a truth that, well, no degree, no award, no amount of expertise can actually prepare you for. We're all experts in something, aren't we? We have our roles, our identities tied to what we do. But then, boom, you're thrown into a situation where that expertise just doesn't matter. Or worse, it just mirrors your own vulnerability. It's that profound stripping away that can actually lead to a new kind of clarity, a stark realization of our shared humanity.
And then there's that absurd yet just heartbreaking ice cream scene from his residency days. He's out, casually eating ice cream with friends. Just a simple moment of joy. And then, bam, gets called to an emergency, a patient with a massive brain injury. The scene just jumps from this casual sweetness to surgical intensity in a heartbeat. What's the lesson there about how life works?
It's such a profound lesson, really, that life doesn't pause for tragedy. It just keeps unfolding, often with these stark, almost disorienting contrasts, meaning isn't found by removing the difficult stuff, the painful elements. Instead, it's often right there in those collisions of joy and grief, the mundane and the monumental, that we find the deepest insights. He shows us joy and sorrow can, and often do, share the same space, sometimes the very same moment. Now, if there's a true mic drop moment in this book, it has to be Paul and his wife Lucy's decision to have a child. Despite his terminal diagnosis, Lucy asks him, wouldn't it make dying more painful? And his answer, wouldn't be great if it did. It just stops you cold, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What is he truly saying there? How does that just radically redefine love in the face of loss? It's a profound redefinition, absolutely. He's not just accepting pain, he's like embracing it as proof of profound love. It completely flips the script, From love protects you from pain to love makes the pain worthwhile. It's this defiant affirmation that the depth of connection, the joy of creating life, is worth the inevitable cost of grief. It suggests that pain, in this context, becomes proof of how deeply you cared, how fully you lived, how much you connected.
And his insistence on going back to the operating room after treatment, even knowing his time was so limited, he describes holding the scalpel again as like finding my way back into my own body. What deeper human need was driving that, going back into that intense environment?
It's so much more than just proving he was still a surgeon, isn't it? It speaks to that raw, almost primal human need to return, even briefly, to the places where we feel most alive, where we find our deepest purpose, our identity. For Kalanithi, the OR was where his intellect, his compassion, his skill all came together. It wasn't about defying death. It was about reaffirming life. By engaging with what gave his life meaning, even then, It was about feeling truly present, alive, if only for a few more hours.
And finally, those closing lines to his infant daughter, Caddy, so moving, he writes. When you come to one of the many moments in life where you must give an account of yourself, provide a ledger of what you have been and done and meant to the world, you can never be ready, but you can try. I will be gone, but I hope you will see that I was striving to reach you still. Just incredibly tender and heartbreaking.
It is. This is legacy stripped bare, isn't it? Of all the usual stuff, accolades, achievements, wealth, it's not about what he left materially, but the hope that love carries across the silence. A desperate, beautiful attempt to connect beyond life and death. It's a profound statement that the most important thing we leave behind is the imprint of our love, our striving on those who follow. It really makes you rethink what success even means.
It absolutely does. That idea of legacy, stripped of all the usual markers, it really highlights how Kalanithi constantly challenged conventional wisdom, and that brings us perfectly to how he quietly, yet powerfully, dismantles so many unspoken beliefs we have about life, work, especially death. Okay, let's unpack some of these common myths he takes on.
Yeah, great pivot, because he does this so subtly. Take myth number 1. Death is the enemy, the thing to be beaten at all costs. Kalanithi's counterpoint, forged in his own experience, is that, while death is inevitable, the real enemy, if you want to call it that, isn't death itself, but a life lived without meaning, without purpose, without connection. Facing mortality directly can actually sharpen your purpose, clarify what you value, make you live more fully. He says it so clearly. The fact of death is unsettling, yet there is no other way to live. He really forces us to look at that.
It's a stark truth, isn't it, that acknowledging mortality might actually be the key to living more fully. And on that note, let's explore another myth he kind of takes apart, the idea that doctors should stay detached, completely objective. Kalanithi, through his own experience as a patient, learned that emotional distance isn't always strength. Sometimes it's a kind of failure, a profound one. What does that imply about medicine? Or even just how we care for each other?
It completely reframes it, I think. It suggests empathy isn't just some optional soft skill, it's fundamental, a tool. Kalanithi realized the physician's true duty isn't only to stave off death, but, as he wrote, to take into our arms a patient and family whose lives have disintegrated. That requires deep human connection, right? Not detachment. It's about bearing witness to suffering, not just fixing a body. It raises a big question for all of us. Where else might we be holding back empathy, thinking it's strength?
Then there's that pervasive belief. You are your career. Kalanithi's illness forced him to confront who he was without the scalpel, without the title neurosurgeon. He had to ask, if I'm not that anymore, then who am I?
This point resonates so strongly today. He reinforces that your identity has to be bigger than a job title. Tying your whole worth to one role leaves you totally adrift when life changes. Course illness, sure, but also economic shifts or, as we'll get to, technology. But, and this is key, it also opens the door to reinvention. Kalanithi himself found this new, profound purpose as a writer. He said, I was no longer a doctor. I was no longer a patient. I was something else.
Yeah.
A writer. He showed us how to adapt identity, not lose it entirely.
And what about the myth that avoiding deep attachments protects you from pain? We just talked about Paul's decision to have a child despite terminal cancer. That completely flies in the face of this idea, doesn't it?
It does. He asserts, almost defiantly, that love is worth it because it will hurt. Love and loss are, inseparable. Avoiding one means giving up the other. His reply, wouldn't it be great if it did, when asked if fatherhood would make dying harder? That just captures this radical acceptance. It's a powerful statement that the deepest joys often come with the potential for the deepest sorrows, and that's a trade-off worth making.
Finally, the myth that talking about death is somehow morbid or hopeless. I mean, the book itself is proof that discussing mortality can be incredibly tender, beautiful, even full of a certain kind of hope.
Exactly. Avoiding the topic doesn't protect us. It just leaves us unprepared, isolated. Openly talking about death can actually make life richer, more purposeful, more connected. As Kalanithi put it so well, death comes for all of us. But what happens before death is what matters. It's about choosing how you live until then, not trying to run from it. He kind of invites us into that conversation.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. If Paul Kalanithi were alive today watching our 2025 world unfold, his book's core questions aren't just relevant, they feel like they're pressing harder than ever. How do you see his insights playing out now amidst all the rapid changes, especially with AI?
It's a fascinating thing to think about, right? Consider the distraction crisis we're all swimming in. Paul was already wrestling with how to give full, undivided attention when time is finite. His insistence on presence, being fully with a patient or a loved one, or even just a sentence he was writing that feels like such a powerful antidote to a world that slices us into fragments, constant notifications, demands. He said, even if I'm dying, until I actually die, I am still living. That's such an urgent call to be here, to choose presence over digital noise. And that challenge has only gotten more intense since he wrote those words.
And what about identity in flux, especially with AI? So many careers are changing, vanishing. People are grappling with who they're supposed to be.
There's a direct, almost prophetic parallel there. Between Kalanithi's sudden identity crisis when illness took away his surgeon role, and what so many people face today with layoffs, automation, AI reshaping whole industries. His process grieving what was lost but then finding worth in what remained, that models a kind of deep resilience we increasingly need. He might explore how you preserve identity when work is no longer yours, whether it's illness or technology. Maybe through stories of reinvention, emphasizing that your true value isn't just your output, but your capacity to learn, connect, empathize.
We're also seeing this huge cultural obsession with more time, biohacks, life extension, living as long as possible. Does Kalanithi's perspective offer a counter-narrative?
Oh, absolutely. Kalanithi's view offers a crucial counterweight to this sort of longevity at all costs mindset. He suggests life isn't a storage race, a competition for sheer duration. Instead, it's depth, connection, meaning those are the things that truly last, that outweigh sheer length. He'd argue, I think, that a short, fully inhabited life, rich with love and purchase, can be infinitely more meaningful than a long one lived superficially. The powerful reminder. Focus on quality, not just quantity.
And connecting back to medicine, with AI poised to revolutionize diagnostics, treatments, do you think Kalanithi would worry about the human element getting lost?
I believe he would be deeply concerned, yes. Very much so. He might have explored what I'd maybe call the algorithm in the bedside, that critical balance, right? Yeah. Marrying technology's precision, which AI is great at, with the irreplaceable weight of human presence, genuine connection, making sure the patient isn't just a collection of data points. He understood that deep spiritual, existential distress that comes with illness. No algorithm currently, anyway, can address that. He'd argue for technology serving humanity, not replacing our most vital empathetic functions, especially in healthcare.
And then there's his radical stance on choosing deep commitment like fatherhood despite impending loss. In a world where people often seem to delay or avoid deep commitments, maybe to avoid potential hurt, his stance feels truly defiant.
It's such a powerful reminder that love isn't less precious because it's temporary. Maybe it's more so, right? The fleeting nature of life can make our connections even more meaningful, more urgent. Kalanithi challenges that idea that we should shield ourselves from future pain by holding back on love now. He argues through his life that the risk of profound grief is actually a testament to the profound value of the love itself. In a world where commitment can feel daunting, his story really champions it as a source of ultimate meaning.
Beneath all of Paul Kalanithi's words, it feels like there's a deeper, quieter message running through the book, an unheard message almost. What do you take away as that profound underlying truth?
It's fascinating, isn't it? The underlying message I think he conveys, maybe implicitly, is something like, you are not in control, and that's okay. Kalanithi's life shows so vividly that everything you build, everything you plan for, it can all be upended in a moment. But his story suggests that instead of trying to, hold the river still, you learn to swim in it. It's about living with your hands open, sort of choosing to loosen your grip on what you think you control, and trusting love more than you fear pain. It's this radical act of surrender but not defeat that paradoxically leads to deeper living.
That's a truly powerful way to put it. Wow. So if we had to boil this whole book, this deep dive, down to one sharp sentence, it might be: a surgeon facing terminal illness turns his scalpel inward, dissecting what makes life worth living when time runs out and leaves behind a manual for living fully while dying.
And if there are maybe 5 key insights, 5 principles Paul Kalanithi really hopes you'll take away from his journey, I'd distill them like this. First, depth matters more than duration. A short, full life can be richer than a long, distracted one. It's about how you engage with time. Second, your identity must outlive your job title. When neurosurgeon was stripped away, he found meaning elsewhere. Our worth is bigger than our profession. Third, love is worth the grief it will cost. Deep connection doesn't shield you from pain. It gives the pain its profound worth, its meaning. Fourth, presence is the most precious resource. In medicine, relationships, just living real attention is more valuable than certainty or just being busy. And fifth, talking about death enriches life. Avoiding mortality doesn't make it go away. It just robs you of clarity and purpose while you're here.
That second point about identity outliving the job title, That feels especially relevant right now with all the shifts we're seeing. Could you say a bit more on why that's so critical today? Beyond just illness?
Absolutely. I mean, think about the speed of technological change, automation, AI. More and more people are finding their careers disrupted, not just by illness, but by AI taking over tasks or entire industries changing shape. If your entire sense of self is wrapped up in one specific job, that disruption can be devastating, utterly. Kalanthi's journey gives us a kind of blueprint for navigating that grief and then pivoting, finding a deeper, more resilient identity based on values, relationships, intrinsic qualities, not just external titles. It's about understanding that who you are is fundamentally different from what you do for a living, a crucial distinction.
That really is a crucial distinction for our times. So, as we wrap up this deep dive, what does all of this mean for you, our listener? Perhaps Kalanithi's unspoken invitation is this: your life is not yours to keep so. Live it in a way you're ready to hand it over at any time. What small part of your life are you holding on to maybe a little too tightly? And what would it truly mean to loosen your grip? We really encourage you to reflect on these ideas. Maybe explore Paul Kalanithi's remarkable book yourself, if you haven't, or just carry these insights into your daily life, like a philosophical pocket card reminding you of what truly matters. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into a truly transformative work.